G'day everyone, Audi 555 here. What is going on with this light? Things are just breaking. Anyway. G'day everyone, Audi 555. So, some terrible things happened lately in regards to my bike, and it's all my fault. So what happened? Well, about 10 minutes after I gloated on YouTube with a YouTube short about doing the valve clearances, I put this valve cover back on and put the 3 bolts in and tightened them up. But I figured after doing these 2 up, that I might as well use the torque wrench on the 3rd one. And what happened next was very surprising. I set the torque wrench to 10 psi and it tightened the bolt and went click, and then another click happened. The bolt actually snapped. And I've just put it in temporarily at the top here so I don't get any bugs in it. But this is what has happened. What I thought was 10 psi on the torque wrench must have been a little bit more, and potentially there's a fault with my torque wrench, but I'm not too sure. Maybe there's a fault with the bolt. But anyway, it snapped, resulting in the bolt coming apart obviously, and the threaded section staying inside the engine. And I managed to get that out luckily, and it was quite easy to get it out, and I just unscrewed it basically. Sorry, my little thing came off the mark. And here lies my problem. The Honda CTX700 in Australia just wasn't that popular, just like the rest of the world, because it, I don't know, it wasn't marketed properly. The features of the bike were poorly displayed, and no one really knew how to classify the bike. But anyway, the result was there's not many of them in Australia. We also have the NC700 and the NC700X and NC750X bikes that you pretty much are the same bike with slightly different parts on it, but they all have the same common bolt. And I believe the new Harley, sorry, not Harley, spit out. I believe the Honda Goldwing has the same valve cover bolt somewhere on it as well. So there's not that many motorcycles that actually use that bolt, and as a direct result, in Australia we have 0 stock of that bolt. So what that meant was I had to order it in from overseas. So I had to put in the order on the internet to get it shipped from Japan, and of course by the time it got here I grew a beard. Holding this microphone a bit funny because it fell out of my pocket. Yeah, hopefully you're not getting a whole from my fabric. It only actually took I think a week and a half between me ordering it from WeBike to getting it, and I've got it today, so it's very exciting. I haven't been able to ride my motorcycle because I'm missing that one bolt, and although the motorcycle will actually ride without that bolt, there is oil that gets flicked around underneath this cover. So if oil is getting flicked around and it's coming out that hole, or if I put a substitute bolt in and potentially doesn't seal properly and oil comes out, because it's so close to my front wheel, that could be a death sentence really. So I just needed to wait. So the wait is finally over for the one like $3.50 bolt, which has come straight from Japan, which is in this ginormous box. It is a massive box just for one bolt, which is very surprising. But if you're going to be shipping it, you might as well ship it in style, I say. There's the bolt. All of that just for this. Wow, look at that. What is going on here? Just keep working. Bloody hell. There we go. You know what? Let's figure this out ingeniously. Sometimes you just got to compromise. There we go, one good light. There we go, it's the same bolt. Look at that, it's pretty cool. The reason why it snapped here is because the bolt itself is not designed to be done up super tight. It's only held in with 10 psi, and basically when you screw it in and it hits the bottom of the thread, you've got this flange that sticks out, and if you over tighten it, the bolt would snap, versus pulling your valve clearance cover inwards and busting around or warping where the seal would be creating where that cover goes. But it's great design, but just bad for me because of the availability of this bolt. Now this bolt here is physically the only bolt in the entire continent of Australia that is original and brand new, still in its packaging. It's pretty scary to think about, so I do have on back order another 2 bolts, so in the future if this ever happens, or if I sell this bike, I can sell it with those bolts, because maybe it's a systemic problem with the bolts and they snap easily, I don't know. So mine is the Honda CTX700N, which is the naked one, which means I only had to remove the majority of the fairings and everything to be able to get to the valve cover, which is literally there. The reason I had to do all of that crazy stuff was because I had to take off the radiator and then do all of this, and then I was like, well, I might as well take this cover off that sits on the top to get to my air filter, because that's a pain in the ass to do. So I'll swap that in with a nice cleanly done one, as in like oiled up K&N air filter, which is good. Also did the spark plugs, which are under here and here, so they got brand new spark plugs. Wasn't going to do them until 100,000 kilometers, but you know, I've got the bike here, might as well do it all now. And I've already done the oil change like 1,000 kilometers ago, so 91,000 kilometers, everything is now good to go, minus that one bolt, and putting it all back together. So time to get cracking. Look at that, oh, it's so exciting. Alright, hopefully I don't break this. If I over torque this bolt, I literally will sit here for about 10 minutes bawling my eyes out, because it's been a pain in the ass getting that bolt. It's been unnecessarily long to get it. It's a long time. So it really was upsetting when that bolt snapped, because I was hoping it would be a really quick turnaround to get that part, but having to wait so long was devastating. So driving my car for 2 weeks was an interesting experience, because it really brought into focus how much I enjoy riding my motorcycle. Without having my bike and having to drive the car just meant that my back was just getting trashed sitting in the seat, having to drive to and from work every day. And I also know that riding my bike is good for my mental health. I feel like I'm less stressed after being on the bike. Without having my bike there was really, you know, like taxing. It just felt like it was just mundane. Please don't snap. Right, that's good enough in my opinion. I'd rather it be slightly too loose than snap. Right, that's in there. So I'm very glad my bike's now back. Oh, finally, I feel like a part of me is now complete. This valve cover is on. I'm not going to torque that bolt because I do not want to risk it snapping again, but it's tight enough now to get the radiator back on. So I've actually got this rad guard on my bike, which I think a radiator guard should just be a standard feature on a motorcycle from the factory, but I'll purchase this rad guard brand one because it's done a great job. And again, if I destroy this radiator, then what is the turnaround time on it? You know, like I don't want to have to wait a month to get one, or have to hope if I've ordered a second-hand one that it's going to be good enough. But anyway, this can go on the bike now. So the hard part now is to try and remember how it all goes back together. Time to put this in, eh? So this has already got new coolant replaced in it before, and I've overfilled it because it will suck up some more when I burp it to put into here. Alright, now the moment of truth. I've got the keys here, and we can see I've filled up all the coolant. I've done all of the nuts and everything up. I've checked everything over twice. All of the radiator fan has been plugged in and clips have been attached to all the cables. The only thing I haven't put on is a radiator cap, but this is just a proof to make sure that everything works. So here goes nothing. Oh, look at that. Starts like a champ. Hasn't been started in 2 and a bit weeks, I think. And first go, no, not a problem. Alright, cool, it looks good. So now I've just got to run the bike, get it up to temperature, then check once it cools down the fluid levels to make sure that the radiator's still got fluid in it. It's really exciting to get the bike back on the road, and literally, you know, I'm just literally bits of plastic and a seat away from getting on the bike again and riding. So it's a really exciting day for me today. Gosh, I've really missed being on 2 wheels. During my hiatus, I've been looking at other bikes, just, you know, daydreaming. I'm like, oh, if I just buy a second bike, then maybe, you know, that'll be exciting. But I do have a car, and my wife has a car, and I've got my bike, so I can't really justify having 2 bikes unless I get rid of my car, to be honest. But my car's been a bit of a saviour getting me through the couple of weeks when I'm missing this bolt, so it's probably a good thing to keep the car, but second vehicle could be replaced with an adventure bike or something like that, I think. But, you know, kids still quite young, don't really have much free time, so all I can do is just tinker with one bike at the moment. Oh no. Didn't hold the button down long enough. Right, so I don't gas myself, I do have to open the doors. Finally, the bike has been put back together, ready to go for a test ride. How exciting. All the fairings back on, and just to make sure. Still starts first go. It's incredible. Test ride time, how exciting. So everything's back on the bike, obviously, all the panels are back on. They're a bit of a pain in the ass to get on and off, but you know, it looks good on the bike, so it's worth the effort. Well, so we're just doing a bit of a ride around town now to really just give the engine the chance to perform a little bit, just to heat it up to operational temperature and open up the thermostat to let the coolant flow all the way through the radiator and the engine, hopefully get any air out of it, or at least bring it to the top of the system, which is where the radiator cap is, so I can bleed the air out of it. But so far so good. Bike's performing pretty normal. Really haven't really noticed much of a difference in its performance whatsoever during this valve clearance adjustment. But it did have a few valves on cylinder 1 that were out of whack. Actually, all of them were except for one valve from memory. And then on cylinder 2, it's got 4 valves, 2 intakes and 2 outtakes. Well, I guess you'd call them exhausts. One of the exhausts was out, and I think one of the 2 intakes were fine, so they didn't need to get touched. But cylinder 1 was way out. Jeez, mate, please stop. New street. Better than the old one. Oh, but I'll tell you what, it is great to be on two wheels. You know, it's an addiction being on a motorcycle. It really is. If you don't ride a motorcycle and you've always wanted to, I suggest just do it. You know, it is dangerous, but you can make it safe by playing it smart. For example, not pulling out in front of cars. That's a smart move. But yeah, you know, give and take, I guess. But this bike is a testament to Honda's engineering in that it's a pretty simple to maintain bike. Everything seems to just be well built and good quality on it. Probably the only thing that's not that on this bike is me as the rider. So after doing the valve clearance, I feel like bike's performing a little bit better, but it could just be psychological. If there was any performance improvements, it would just be, you know, probably not recognizable unless I measured it quantifiably against something, which I'm not going to do. Look at this view. It's nice. I love doing this loop. I do get carried away with riding around here. It's a nice part of town. Could never afford to live here. It's a bit too expensive. But nice, nice scenic views and big houses. If I studied more at school, maybe I could afford something like this. Or perhaps if I was a bit more smart with my money instead of wasting it on motorcycles. But it costs nothing to come and have a look. Even the moon's out here. The moon. Look at that view, isn't that nice? Anyway, I do have to just quickly pull over here just to check if there's any leaks in my coolant. It's always handy to do that sort of thing. Alright, no cars there. That looks all good. I can't smell any coolant, and when coolant leaks on anything hot, it has a very particular smell, and I can't smell it at all, which is good. I think that's all good. Well, anyway, big tick, everything's back to normal. Exciting times. Whew. There we go. Bit of a nice view to finish this video up. So everything seems to be going fine on the bike, which is really good. Great that you stuck around this long to see me waffle about putting it all together and doing the valve clearances. That's really good. Bit of something special here. You can see maybe there's a flag right up in the distance there. That's at Picnic Point. Over there is a hill known locally as Tabletop Mountain, although it does have a traditional Aboriginal name which eludes me at this stage. And looking down in the Lockyer Valley, it's a beautiful view. Beautiful bike, beautiful sunset. It's time to get on the road again and enjoy the rest of the afternoon on the bike. I'll check my coolant again when I get home once it's cooled down. Well, that's it. Oh jeez, oh no! No, joking. Well, that's it for today's video. Thank you very much for sticking around. As usual, keep safe out there on the road. Stay on two wheels and not on your head. And I'll see you all next time. Laters!